to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot see.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Rate. It's the Fans Forum, and it's good evening to Kev, who's all the way across in Atlanta, George, who's in the Toon, Barry, and Darren. Good evening, lads. Good to see you. And as always, we've got an hour to talk about Newcastle United and look back at the game, of course. Yesterday is where we're going to start. And the good news filtering through, I've got a shout this afternoon about this. And Craig Hope has now confirmed what I'd heard, that the scan results on Bruno's ankle injury are positive. We're looking at a week or weeks out. So that's great news, Kevin, after yesterday, because I've got to be honest, the pictures that were beamed across the world after that match weren't good. Bruno in tears, left the ground on crutches with a protective boot on, and we were thinking his season was over, as probably he was. But ultimately, it sounds like it's better news. Obviously, there'll be more results to come over the next day or two, and we'll probably get a clearer picture and some kind of official announcement from the club. But at the moment, that's great news and puts a smile on my faces again.
Yeah, it broke my heart when I seen Bruno crying yesterday when he was going off at half time. I thought, that he thought his season was over, in my opinion, as not we all did. But, after, speaking of camera, basically, I've done the same injury multiple times, and you just never know until swelling goes down. And when scans come through and analysis takes place. But basically here, a few minutes ago, that he's good to go, or within 2 weeks. Look, just wrap him up in cotton wool and get him back on grass as soon as we possibly can. And again, like we said, I think it's now a need. If he would miss the rest of the season, to bring somebody else in. So, whatever that looks like. But it's fantastic news, to be fair.
What did he make of the game yesterday, Kevin?
I'll bang on this drum again, Steve. It's final third. Defensively, I thought we were strong. I thought midfield, we broke early in the first period of the game. But again, it's the quality of the finish, the final pass. Even Eddie Howe said it in his post match, to where we'll get in beyond, we'll break the line, we'll do whatever we need to do. But again, it's that final pass, it's that finish. I don't know what it is. If it's confidence, I don't know what. If I just can't put my finger on it at this point. But I think it's just goal scoring is obviously where you win games. So in that lacking, and love Callum Wilson, but I don't know. I don't know what it is, to be honest. I think it's just, again, the final third element is pretty much driving me up the wall.
Okay, George, when we're off screen, you were slightly frustrated, weren't you, yesterday when you saw Bruno limping around that pitch?
Yes, I was, Steve, and I'll tell you why. Eddie Howe said when he talked about it, how he'd wanted to run it off. Well, I'm afraid if it was that bad, Eddie Howe should have took him off straight away. He shouldn't have ran for nearly another 20 minutes on a bad leg. Goodness knows what damage he could have done if he did. And I think, yes, he's enthusiastic, but he's got to be protected as well. And I would have been happier if the coaches, Eddie Howe and the rest of the coaches, had said, "Hey, you're not running anything off. Let's have a look at this. Come off and let's have a look at it." But that's my way of looking at things. The other side of it is that I was quite pleased after the half time how well Longstaff fitted in that role. I thought that Bruno would have been a bigger miss than he was. But I thought Sean Longstaff did very well, slotting in there with the other midfielders that tried to get around it. And then after that, it was a frustrating kind of match. It was one of those matches where 3 points was what was important, not how we played, well, all that sort of thing. I mean, it is the old adage that whether you play well, clean or dirty, it doesn't matter as long as you get the 3 points. Well, I think later in the season we'll be glad of those 3 points, because Fulham are going to frustrate a lot of people if they play like that. There's no doubt about that. And I think that was a good 3 points against a very determined and a very awkward Fulham side. The other frustrating thing is that here we are again. It's at James's Park, and what's the biggest talking point? VAR, penalties. I mean, and the name Mike Dean pops up again. Goodness gracious, what's that guy got against Newcastle United? And even then, he didn't get the penalty calls right, as was shown on Match of the Day and other platform or other stations that got the 2 penalties decisions totally wrong. But the referees that are operating this system are doing their best to get rid of it, because I think that used properly, it's good, it'll help and all the rest of it. But used in that way as it was on Saturday is so frustratingly. I'm getting sick of it. I'd rather talk about the game and what's happening than what some silly sod sitting in a room and 300 miles away is thinking about. So yeah, they're doing the best to make a good system a bad system. We're the only country that's struggling by the sound of it. But an important 3 points, because I think on another day we would have been stuck with a 0-0. No doubt about it. Kevin's right. That was headed for 0-0 all the way, and yet they managed to pull it out the bag, and we'll be thankful for that later in the season. So, good win.
Gail Thompson says to you, George, I always said it, Longstaff is a 10.
Well, he certainly fitted in. You have a look at the match again. Bruno was a miss, obviously, but not as much of a miss as I thought he would be, because Sean Longstaff fitted in. And I carefully watched Shearer's analysis of Longstaff on Match of the Day, and I agree with every word that the important thing about Sean is every motion he makes is forward, is positive. I mean, we've had lots of midfielders who were told were stars and good players, and Scott Parker used to go in circles, sideways, backwards, anywhere but bloody forwards. But Sean Longstaff, every ball is forward, and I think that's important.
Yeah, he just needs to improve on his shooting, and once he gets his shooting right,
absolutely.
We've probably got one of the best midfielders, English midfielders in the Premier League, and that'll show you why Manchester United tried to prize him away from us pre-Steve Bruce. Barry, good evening, mate. Good mate. Your assessment on the Fulham win. I mean, important 3 points, clean sheet. Wasn't the prettiest of games, but another win.
It was. I mean, can I just say what an honour it is to be on with George as well? Because I didn't expect that, and I've sent so many questions into you, and and I read as much as I can into Newcastle's history, and I'm not saying this derogatory to you, but into the past games, and obviously prior to my first game, and the number of times you were either there, a personal story from it, somebody who was in amongst it, or it's just. To me, I put in the comments on Friday, Steve, I think it got missed. George, to me, is Mr. Newcastle. Because there's so much stuff comes from him. It's just, I love it. I could watch your 2 shows all day, George. It's just
that's very, very kind, Barry. Thank you.
And I'm just keeping George busy.
I
like George as well, but at this moment in time, I want to keep him busy. So we're missing Geordie's here. Geordie's there this week, so I wanted to get him on tonight.
Steve, sorry, can I take the opportunity to talk to everybody in the platform and say the messages of condolences about my Marjorie and all the rest of it, I have appreciated it, and it is important. I have to tell you, it is important. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant, George. All right, Barry.
I didn't see the match live. I was stuck at work. Trying desperately to get somebody to stick it on the radio or be able to listen to it, which was an absolute nightmare, because I thought this is not going to be as easy as you would have thought a while ago. Fulham have really picked up, and I thought they're going to come up and have a go. Heard the Bruno injury, and I was just sat at my desk at work with my head in my hands, and people could, what the hell's the matter with you? What's wrong with your face? And I'm saying, Bruno's injured. this could be like long term. You know what I mean? No way. It's like out of the whole team, apart from maybe Trippier or Botman, he's the one player you don't want to get injured. And unfortunately, the style that he plays and the way that he plays, I'm surprised people haven't had a go at him before. You know, some of the teams will go for your star players and try and, as George would probably agree in the past, nobble them a little bit, take them out the game. And I'm surprised without Bruno, we just don't have that creativity. We're getting better and better going forward, but it's short, sharp passes backwards and forwards. Bruno's got the ability to just flip the ball between his legs, leave somebody completely for dead. That Brazilian skill to it. And I just hope he's taught Joe Linton enough to sort of take over. So, Steve, does that mean he's missing for the 2 cup matches?
Well, it could be. I mean, look, it's very, very, very early days today. The heads up I got slightly earlier than Craig, it has to be said, but I wouldn't dare put anything out on social media until it was confirmed by the club. But, you know, Craig's a journalist. He can do that. But, yeah, my indication was that, it wasn't as bad as first thought. And, you know, they're looking at potentially a week to 2 weeks, but you know they're going to need to double check and check things. I guess you know they're going to need the full results of the scan before they make an accurate assessment. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical man, and I'm not in the know. I just have people who tend to come with very good information. And yeah, let's wait and see. But the good news is that they're not saying it's a cracked bone and he's going to be out for 6 months, because if that was the case, Bruno's season would be over. So we have to look at the possibility that we're going to be, and looking at the way Eddie Howe deals with other players, that we're going to be without, Bruno for the semi-final, and that is a big blow. I mean, why don't they go down the same route, Barry, maybe as we did last season when we're in relegation trouble? We're both Chris Wood and weekend Burnley. So let's go and buy Ward-Prowse from Southampton just before the semis.
That's the only positive I had after, obviously, the result, considering everything that's happened. I met 2 or 3 Toon fans coming home on the bus from work, and I was saying, come on then, explain the penalty to us. What the hell was going on? And they were just like sitting, shaking their heads, saying, 1 minute you could work it out, the next minute you couldn't. He hit the ball twice. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. And I says, I'm glad I wasn't watching it, because I would have been demented. And I says, the only good thing now with our club, they're not daft. Fingers crossed, they'll go and buy a midfielder to cover, I'm not saying a midfielder because we've still got them, but a creative midfielder. This might be the push that they need to go out and get somebody. The question is whether they were ready for it. I mean, listening to Eddie's press conference, Steve, obviously you guys try and fill in some of the blanks on the Friday show about transfers and who we're going to buy. Howe didn't make it sound like much of a priority. He said, "Oh, we're in there, we're looking at people, but I'm not expecting anybody soon," sort of thing. And you just thought, right, okay, is it going to be the last week of this transfer? Hopefully now it's not. There's a reason to get out there and do something.
Isn't that what he did earlier in the year? And a couple of days later, we signed Isaac.
Yes. Well, that's it.
We're not. There's nobody in the thing, and Isaac was on the plate.
The bloody dog wants to be in. Sorry, Steve.
No worries, mate. Okay, Darren, over to you, mate. And just with the game yesterday, first and foremost, your take on it, and any comments?
Well, I was shocked that Joe Linton was done. Personally, I think he made a big call there, but we can go in many ways. People say he should be playing, people say he should be dropped, but he made the call by playing him. So respect for Eddie Howe making the big call, but it's one of them things. But losing Bruno, you're like, oh no. I kind of agree with. I do agree with George 100%. He'd done his ankle, and you could see he was running, he was limping. He could have made it much more worse. He could have been out longer. So Eddie Howe should have gone up the pitch then. Second half, come on. Sean Longtop had an good game. And I hate to see it, ESM done nothing wrong at all in the second half. You passed the ball, grafted, and worked hard. So that was good, positive sign to see. But I thought it was going to be another 0-0 draw, but we had enough that the crowd was making noise, and but done good to get the 1-0 win. So I was really happy. So I was buzzing about that.
Yeah, I mean, me too. And the tribute to Eddie Howe before the game as well, Darren, was superb, wasn't it? I mean, you were there. You'll have seen the same as me. But the the war flags display once again was just superb, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that's something personal. I hope Eddie will love that sort of stuff. The crowd, it shows you that Geordie love, all the Geordie fans love Eddie for what he's done for the club and how he's turned this club around. And Stevie, you were there. You could back about a year ago, you could see a load of empty seats. Now you're lucky to see one. It's just it's amazing turnaround.
Yeah, it is, mate. It is. And Eddie Howe commented on that. He said it was a nice surprise. I don't think he expected to see that. And, War Flags managed to keep it quiet and keep it away from him. So, absolutely brilliant. The big thing for me yesterday, coming back to you, Kev, is just the first time that we've seen Isak and Callum Wilson on the same pitch together. And, of course, it led to a goal. And over the years, I mean, George and I have talked about it on Those Were the Days, over the last couple of months about partnerships, and there's been some great partnerships over the years. I mean, in recent times, we've seen Demba Ba and Cisse, we've seen Peter Beardsley and Andy Cole, of course, Alan Shearer and Les Ferdinand, but now we've got Isak and Wilson, Kev. So I know it's not a massive amount of time to see them play, but we did get the winning goal from that.
Yeah.
Did you see signs there, Kev, of potentially?
Because we've said Isak's a different type of player to Wilson. Wilson's a back to goal. Isak's run onto the ball like a 10 type of deal. And it was weird. I was trying to pick up where Isak was actually playing because he dropped off when we didn't have the ball to make that middle, to make it maybe a 5 and leave Wilson up on his own, or the 3 as a point of a diamond, like a 4-2-3-1. Who knows? I was trying to figure it out myself, and I was, not scratching on a notepad, but at the same time, it was like, where's he actually? He just seemed to float around Wilson, and it seemed like it caused Fulham a lot of problems defensively because we got the ball wide and we were trying to play balls into the area. We were 2 relatively big target men. I mean, granted, we come from the goal. That was a great ball by Longstaff into Wilson, and we got a bit of luck with a ricochet. But it's 2 target men. So again, it's a nice option to have. Like Jordan said, and the Migos have said, it's nice options to have. With 2 up front. I've always known as a 2 up front. With coaching world, you move into 4-3-3, you move into 4-2-3-1 with different variants of and whatever you fancy. But I thought it was just nice to see them maybe complement each other because Wilson can hold it up. There's running off of Isak, and he's got pace. You got Maxi, then you got Mickey on the other side, or Murphy on the other side. So then you got 4 going forward. So it's like a 4-2-4 essentially when we've got the ball going forward. So it's nice. It's different, and I'm just glad for the lad to get a goal after a long period of time out, after missing sitters at Sheffield Wednesday. Essentially, it's just nice to score from a yard. But again, it just puts into other teams' minds. Oh well, they can go 4-4-2. They can go 4-2-3-1. There's multiple variations what we can play rather than just a straight up 4-3-3, which is now becoming, I see from yesterday, the Fulham game, quite predictable. We'll try to play exactly the same way. Bruno was trying to play that ball over the top of Miggy and it got cut out. They were doubling up. They figured us out a little bit, obviously, since they played us. But now with the introduction of Isak, it's just putting the cat amongst the pigeons, as they say, and just making us a little bit different and making us, stronger ultimately at the top end of the pitch. But I was impressed with it. We'll see how that rides out, and let's see what flourishes from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, George, that, Isak's now, fully fit. It gives us that opportunity to change. And Kev's saying that the 4-3-3 potentially has been found out. I mentioned yesterday to John when we were coming back from the match about, getting, Almiron getting double mark now. He's not scoring the goals he was pre-World Cup. But, obviously people have had time to look at things and say, look, ultimately, we need to change. We need to change. Our tactics against Newcastle. It's going to happen. So Newcastle do need a plan B.
Well, they do, but remember, if they're putting 2 men on Miggy, that leaves a lot of freedom for somebody else. So we can make capital. I hope we can make capital of that. The fact that they're double marking Miggy, that somebody else has got a lot of freedom. The issue of having 2 strikers is historically at Newcastle we always seem to have had them. My favourite pair happened to be, Steve, in the 50s were Milburn and Rob Lido.
Yeah.
And Milburn was through the middle, pace, frightened everybody to death with pace, and Rob Lido floated about the whole front line. And in the 51 season, Rob Lido got 38 goals and Milburn 29. Could you imagine what that would be like at the moment? It would be absolutely incredible. But they fed off each other. And it seems as though it's something that's been almost traditional with Newcastle right up to the present time. So if they can work that sort of magic, that would be fantastic. And I have to say, I think Isak enjoyed the freedom that not being the number 9 gave him. He's not a back to the wall attacker in my frame of mind. He's not a number 9 that wants his back to the goal. He wants to be running onto the ball in a positive way, and I think that showed in that short spell with alongside Wilson, and I think that could be an important feature in the cup semis. If Bruno is out, and we have to think of, as you say, Plan B, Steve. Maybe that's the Plan B that Southampton and others haven't seen yet, and that's what we'll do. So, no, I loved it, the bit that there was of it, and the fact that Wilson was sharp enough to keep the ball in, and he was sharp enough to be on the spot to head it into the goal, and that speaks volumes. It suggests that they knew where each other was, and that's great. That could only be good for the team.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we finished Barry yesterday with Almiron, ASM, Wilson, and Isak on the pitch. I mean, that's a hell of a formation and plenty of options with all of them firing on all cylinders, isn't it?
I think as well with the speed the guys have got. We've got such pace up front. I mean, Isak is blistering. He looks so leggy. He reminds us a little bit of a Spear when he runs because you think he's just all legs, but he seems to have that bonus with him that he can score the goals. He's only been what is it, 3 games now he's been back, and just his confidence is going to hit sky high. Like George says, I think the Newcastle are used to the 2 guys up front. I mean, all the way back in my time watching this, there's always been 2 centre forwards, usually a big guy and a little guy. That type of player. But I wouldn't want to class Wilson as the little guy, but you can imagine that sort of role sort of suiting him. But they just it's the worry that, like you say, if the mark
sorry, Barry, who's this? Kev, who's this?
Well, this is my young'un. Well, not young'un, he's about to be 13 in a few days, and this is Keegan.
Hello.
So
how are you? Keegan.
I wasn't born yesterday.
Keegan
right here. So
have a good birthday, man. Keegan, I'm just going to ask you, who do you support?
Newcastle.
Yes, good lad. Are you going to play for Newcastle one day?
Yes, sir.
Brilliant, mate. Good stuff. Excellent. Well, you have a good night tonight, mate. We'll have to get you on and get your views. It might be a little.
I've got plenty of them.
Take care, mate. Brilliant stuff. Great stuff. Sorry, Barry.
No, you're all right. Keegan coming on the show.
Exactly. We can now use that as an exclusive. We've had Keegan on the show.
You're welcome, and I'll take the royalties from all of that.
You will, mate.
I'll take the views,
please. The future in Newcastle there, potentially. What more can you say?
Exactly.
You hope that, I mean, obviously a lot of the success we've had, Miggy flying down one side, Joe Linton, whoever on the left-hand side, it's fingers crossed, Shoma, how that he's not just going to go that way, that he is going to try out other routes. We're building the squad slowly but surely to do that. It just, like I say, my concern, if we do pick up any more injuries, touch wood that we don't, we could do with at least a couple of extra players brought in, Steve, to just bolster the squad a little bit. I mean, reading this morning about the stories about what's he called? Not Little Scottish guy, little Scottish winger.
What? Who wanting to
Fraser.
leave?
Fraser, yeah, just desperate to be aware that he wants this and he wants that, and he's not getting any assurances. And you think, well, I think when you read between the lines with Howe's comments as well, it is going to be possibly a one in, one out. You know, if he is going to bring somebody in, it's going to be somebody possibly going first, isn't it?
It must be history repeating itself for Eddie Howe, isn't it? Because that's what he faced when he had Fraser at Bournemouth. That's why they fell out at Bournemouth. Yeah. You know.
I mean, I'll snap somebody's hands off for 8 million for him when he cost us now.
Absolutely.
If that's how much he's worth.
Yeah. Yeah, Darren, would you like to see our partnership up front? Isak and Wilson have started a poll off in the chat there. 94% say yes at the moment, 6% say no. So the chat are very keen.
I think it's a different sort of era now, Steve. The two up front is not many teams play the two up front. Yes, could it work? Yes, it could. But I like the formation. But what I will say, I agree with the chat, it's becoming a bit too obvious how we're playing, and a lot of teams have started to figure out how we play.
Yeah.
So we needed to do something new, or just a little tweak to change things up against teams. Like I say, just like, can you bring ESM on a little bit more, give him a chance, freshen things up? Because he done all right yesterday. It pains me to say that, by the way. ESM playing good for the 45.
Would you play a 4-2-3-1 then, and play Isak in behind Wilson with that?
Yeah, that's a very, very good call. That I would. Like say you
like
play
with Bruno being out and have Longstaff, Joe Linton, and Isak in behind Wilson, or whichever way you want to put in there. I mean,
I would if Longstaff, Bruno. I like Willock. I'm a big fan of Willock.
Yeah.
Me too.
Toss of a coin, you know what I mean? It's one of them ones, yeah.
Because the formation you have Willock in,
Right.
So I'm a massive fan of Willock. The only thing about Willock, he needs to have that little bit more belief about himself, what he can do.
Yeah.
He gets the confidence he can do. He can drive forward. He's got the huge potential to do it. I just think he needs to believe in himself a little bit more. Because I'm a big Willock fan, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel
like goals. You don't think goals would help with that? Like, just grab a couple here in the next whatever period of time, just to enhance that. You know what I mean? The confidence.
Yeah, you're probably right there, mate. You probably, if he could, well, he's done it before. He's went and scored 8 goals, 8 games on a trot. You know what I mean? So he has got to. He knows. We all know he can do it. He just needs to have that little bit more belief, because the level of Newcastle playing now, I think he can do it. But if you play the 4-2-3-1, you're dropping Willock or you're dropping Longstaff. You know that's
exactly.
That's the debate you've got.
Yeah,
I just threw it out there just to see, you know.
No, it's a very good thing. Like I say, Ward seen he needs to trick it. Can you play the two up front? You probably could. Isak and Wilson.
Or diamond in midfield, like a 4-4-2 with a diamond in midfield. You know what I mean? There's a lot of variants to 4-3-3. So it's still a 4-3-3, but a lot of people call it 4-2-3-1. Well,
if you want them to, you've got to drop. You've got to drop.
Who do you drop?
Who do you decide? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know,
Kenny Ransom says ESM was still slow at tracking back, and he also did his famous rolling around again. The crowd near me were shouting for him to get up. Go on, George.
I was going to say, I thought Darren made a good point when he's reminding with it. Other teams have had a look at one now, so that they're ready for it, and they're changing their tactics to suit ours. In fact, I watched, I don't know if you did, but I watched the Brighton-Liverpool game.
No, I didn't see.
And for most of that game, I thought I was watching us. Brighton are playing a pattern which we play, and in a style, the pressing style that we play. And I for a good bit of that game against Liverpool, I thought, hold on, this is Brighton, it's not Newcastle. But it looked like Newcastle, they were playing so much like us. So not only are people adapting to it, it looks like some of the newer coaches are actually watching what Howe's doing against the big teams and play in the same way. So I think Darren makes a good point. People are getting wise, and we've got to think about changing things. Not a lot, but just little things.
Yeah, I would agree as well. We need to look at that. I'm sure Eddie Howe will. Okay, halfway through the program, going to run the ads. A big thank you to all our sponsors, as always. Thanks to Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, and our website skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensaries, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. You can find them at thegohd.com. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria, and you can find them at mrvickies.co.uk. If you want to make an order, give them a call on 01768 210 102 or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to Blowhole Breweries, you can get a selection of beers, and the cans are in the design of the old Newcastle United entertainers strips. Blowholebrewery.co.uk. Thanks to Melly's Carpets and Beds, laying our reputation, one recommendation at a time. The best quality around at the cheapest prices. Melly's Beds and Carpets.co.uk. Email sales@mellysbedsandcarpets.co.uk or give Melly a call on 01670 632 216. And thanks to United Group Travel Limited, UK Coach Holidays in Morpeth, 01670 362 460 or mobile 07957 141 654. Graham, your driver, Beverly answering your calls and looking after you on your tour. Some great deals coming up there. Get yourself onto the website to check them out. Thanks also to Media Arts, who do all of our videos and help us with the technological side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the channel, then hit the subscribe button below. Hit the thumb up, which is the like button, which does us a big favour with the algorithm. And click share. Share it to Newcastle United Facebook groups or Twitter accounts or your own social media to help our community grow. And if you want to join the channel, hit the join button. And for as little as $1.99 a month, you can get some members-only videos and chances to win some fantastic prizes. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and the rest. Don't forget as well that we do events through NUFC Matters. And this one is the next event coming up, Friday the 24th of February, an evening with Newcastle United legend Steve Howie. Friday the 24th of February, Tyneside Irish Centre. And tickets are available at £50 from newcastlelegends.com. If you also go onto Voucher and search for the event, you can pick up a bargain on there. Don't forget, we also support the food bank on this channel. www.nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is where you can find the Matchday Bucket. You can make a virtual donation to the Matchday Bucket 365 days of the year to keep helping the food bank in Newcastle. Simon Davis has had start versus Palace 4-3-3, switched to 4-2-3-1. Second half with Isak at number 10. Tim says it's interesting how Man U marked De Bruyne out of the game by man marking, and they faulted. Drop Longstaff for me, says George. One swallow doesn't make a summer. Gail, pointing towards the refereeing decisions we saw at the weekend, says the Man U goal is a disgrace to the offside rule. What is the offside rule, guys? Yeah, that's a good question. And thoughts on possible new shirt manufacturers, Nike, Adidas, etc. Michael, I'm going to come to that next because it's an important one. I just want to mention as well, because on the ads we haven't got these. We've got Warren Barton coming from stateside across to the UK, Friday, January the 27th, 7:30 till 9 at the Irish Centre. Tickets £10. You can book your tickets at nufcmatters.com. This is a meet and greet with Warren. He's going to do a little Q&A, but he's doing it all in aid of the food bank. All proceeds from that going to the food bank. Get yourself to nufcmatters.com to buy your tickets. A little bit later this year, 25th of March, Nobby Solano will be at the Irish Centre as well. Tickets are £15, and you can buy your tickets from nufcmatters.com for them as well. Both the Nobby Solano dues at Time Out Surf Cafe have sold out, but we do have Steve Watson at the Surf Cafe. Tickets are on sale now for him down there. 2nd of March, get yourself onto the Time House Surf Cafe's website to order your tickets now. Remember, there's only 35 tickets available for that event, so they will sell quickly. Strip, Kevin, you've got a few hanging behind you, mate, as we know. But Adidas been linked with a return to Newcastle, of course, synonymous with an exciting era at Newcastle. We saw Newcastle nearly win the Premier League, and Shearer beat the long-term Jackie Milburn record. Would you like to see Adidas back at the club, Kev?
Absolutely, mate. I mean, all of my apparel from working, coaching days are all Adidas, and well, Adidas in American terms, Adidas in European terms. Yeah, but I love Adidas. I think they make the best quality strips around. Puma are not the best, but still it's a competitor too. But yeah, I would go back to Adidas in a hurry. As long as we can go to the debate of width of stripe and all the rest of it, but Adidas for me.
George?
Yeah, I can't remember a bad strip from Adidas when they were with us. And I didn't buy many strips, but if I did get them, it was an Adidas one. And during the period that were the entertainers and all the rest of it, and I was acting as a chauffeur to our Neil and his mates, quite often as a thank you, the lads would buy us a strip when we went to Wembley or somewhere like that. And those Adidas strips are absolutely great. I mean, I can't see us keeping Castori strip I've got now, as long as I kept the Adidas strips. Different style and different quality. So yeah, Adidas tomorrow for me, Steve.
Yeah, Barry, you're sitting there with an Umbro top on, which of course is my personal favourite.
I've actually managed to get one with the Umbro badge. I was sick of seeing them with just the plain.
Yeah.
I'm the same as you, Steve. Umbro and Adidas are the two decent makes that we've had. This one and the home one that goes with it's very special memories. First few games I ever went to, and then like George has just said there, the Grandad shirt and the purpley and blue stripes across. You just far better quality and far better designs than what they've had recently. I even snuck on the other day to have a look at what mock-ups Adidas have got for like just the black and white shirts that they sell without any team logos on, just to see, and they look mint. Even then they look really good. So yeah, definitely. Got to get rid of these guys. It's just, I was telling somebody on the bus about the whole Wolves upside down badge on his shirt.
Yeah.
And their response was, well, you didn't want to sack Castori. You need to get rid of who's ever in charge of their kit at Wolves as well, because he should have bloody noticed that.
He might have been Australian. Darren, do you want to return to the old Adidas?
Yes, because the old Granite colour with the like back in first got promoted and had a new black and white top. Granite colour was me Granite's favourite top, so I've got a soft spot for Adidas in the old tops. I'm a big fan of Adidas as well, so with the other boys definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've got to ask the question to the panel tonight. We've got obviously the semi-final tickets going on sale, of course, tomorrow for the home game. But Newcastle United have got a two-legged semi now against Southampton, and a lot of people keep asking the same question. You know, what's more important? Because this debate took place, Kevin, yesterday between Louis Sahar, who was a former player at Newcastle, and Paul Merson, formerly of Arsenal, of course, in the studio yesterday. And Paul Merson said the Carabao Cup is the most important thing for Newcastle now. But Louis Sahar said Champions League position is the most important. What would you say is the most important in the running?
The cup.
Yeah.
That's what you play the game for. You play the game for silverware. You know, that's what you're in it. You're in it to win it. You're not there just to show up and finish 15, 16, whatever. You're there to win the game. You're there to win whatever competition, tournament, whatever it is. That's what you're there for. You're there to make the big dance, get to the final, go win it. That's what you play the game for. That's what I'm in the game for. That's what my son's in the game for, right here, to go and win trophies and go and win games. However it comes about, it doesn't matter. You know, but apparently over here the narrative is we're not in the title race. So it was all, you know, they just jumped, you know, they jumped in from third position right down to Man United. So again, the narrative here in the United States, we're not in the title race. But you know, the Champions League nights, I was blessed enough to go to Milan and Rotterdam and places like that, and you know, with my dad who's no longer with us. But they're wonderful. But at the same time, I've never seen a Newcastle United lift a trophy. I've seen one with this one right here with Atlanta United winning the MLS Cup in 2018.
Keegan.
But that was the only time I've seen a trophy being lifted. In all my 38 years being on this earth, that's the only time I've seen a trophy being lifted. So for me as a Newcastle fan, growing up in the Keegan era is my growing up. That's what's been lacking, is a trophy. And that's what ultimately we need to go do. Once we do that, the world's our oyster at the end of the day.
George, you're in a lucky position. You know, you were alive in the 50s, 51, 52, 55, you know,
and my father went to all three, of course, and took this with him.
Oh, there it is.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and from a pure fan point of view, it's got to be silverware. Yes, I remember the winning ones, but remember the losing one, the 74 one, when Liverpool gave away shellacking at Wembley. There was still over 500,000 people waiting for that losing team to come back to St James's Park. You know, all the way up from the station, right round St James's and up the Gallagher. It was chock-a-block, and that's when we've lost. So goodness knows what they would do if we get another win. I mean, it would be fantastic. But yes, I mean, I tend to be a greedy little duck and say I want them both. But if I'm pinned down, it's black and white ribbons on a piece of silver would be what I would go for, I've got to say. Because the uplift it gives to the whole area, just not the club, but to the team as well. And there's little doubt that after the early 50 wins, that give the team such an uplift. We were challenging for everything after that as well. It didn't just stop then. So yeah, the silverware would always be with some black and white ribbons on it. Would always be my choice.
Barry, it's it's one of those situations we never thought would be in this season. But I mean, I think a lot of us now we're going to be greedy, aren't we? We all want top four and a cup in the trophy cabinet as well. But yeah, it's an interesting debate, isn't it? And it's a great debate to be involved in, rather than are we going to stay up?
I mean, obviously, I feel quite sorry for Kev there that he missed out on the huge success that was winning the Texaco Cup. But obviously was a big trophy being lifted in my lifetime, because I was too young to remember the Man City defeat in '76. Totally agree with George. Just remember the atmosphere on they've had two FA Cup final defeats against Arsenal and Man U, and a semi-final defeat in my time. But the atmosphere, George, you're totally right. They got hammered, in at least one of them, and just the fans were like, we don't care. We're at Wembley. It's like they're going for it. It doesn't matter how we play. We're there. We're doing it. We're getting on with it. And if we get to Wembley, we're going to Europe anyway. The Champions League will come. If we don't get there in the top four this season, we're damn well going to get there in the next few years, because you can tell they're all patting themselves now anyway, because we're coming on the up. Nobody expects us to do it this season. So this season should be, like you guys have said, Steve, this should be the free hit. You know what I mean? If we get into Champions League, tremendous. If we don't, it's on its way. Those nights, like Kev said, will come back. The games, against Barcelona, the whole Espria Barcelona match, which is the greatest match I can remember seeing, and just thinking they're on their way back. It might take a little bit of time, but God, how long have we waited for Ashley to bugger off? You know what I mean? It's like we can wait a little bit longer. We'll take what we can get as Newcastle fans. So, like, it would be lovely to see them get to Wembley in the League Cup.
Would be. Tim says, Barry, what about the Intertoto Cup? Yeah, and don't forget the Japan Cup in 1983.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the Japan Cup was my
I went to
favourite.
watch some of the Intertoto games with the poor Appleby brothers playing alongside each other in
Yeah.
centre defence. Just no.
And the
No.
and the year we did them all. We did Texaco, we did Anglo-Italian, and the Members Cup.
Yeah,
They never seem to organise how they pick them.
60 odd games that the players played in that season.
wow.
There never seemed to be any sense with who got into the Intertoto Cup. It was like, well, you've got the biggest chip shop, so you've been playing them this year.
Yeah, it was
And
like you finished 12th, but you divide that by 2, multiply it by 1. It was just like, how on earth do you get in it? Oh yeah, you didn't have many yellow cards last season.
Yeah,
so you didn't get in.
not many red cards as well.
we even got into the Fairs Cup by accident in many ways. It was only the stupid rules about one club, one city, and that sort of thing that we're in, and we went and won it. We did. We went and won it.
Darren, I think the thing that Louis Sahar was trying to get across yesterday was that finishing in the Champions League means that you can attract better players in the window.
It does, Steve, but I've said from day one, and I've got to be realistic. I said from day one, anywhere in the top 10 would do me personally. I would even take the Europa Conference League just to see if we had a better season than last season. But on merit, we are where we are on merit, not by fluke, on merit. But I do think we're going to take a few hits. I'm going to not like my opinion, but I just think we're too early for the Champions League, Steve. And I'll be happy with the UEFA Conference, personally, but even the UEFA Cup, I'll be happy. But I just don't think we're ready for the chat. And now we can spend money and thing, but I don't think Howe's about that. I think Howe likes to get the best out of players, and I know the owners wanted ASAP, but you've got to be a bit realistic. You say it's a marathon, not a sprint. It took Liverpool 5 years to win the league, and Newcastle's got a project, so a project is going to take the 3 to 4 years to be constant in the Champions League. So, me personally, anywhere in the top, I said top 10 sort of season, but because how we're doing, because we're doing so well, I would be disappointed if we're not in UEFA Cup or the UEFA Conference at the end of the season.
Yeah, right. You're right. David Cooks says, was Trippier risking a 5th card and a ban when he moved the ref's foam forward at the free kick? David, he was. But now, luckily, him and Shaw managed to avoid getting booked yesterday, which means now it goes to 10 yellow cards because we're halfway through the season, so we can breathe a sigh of relief on those two at the minute. George, were you going to say something?
Yeah, it was with Darren talking about where we are and people mentioning comparing it with where we were last year. I've noticed as well that now they were at the top, when BBC and Sky talk about it, they drop straight to Manchester United as though we weren't there. And at the bottom, we've got teams that are now nearly as bad off as we were. I mean, there's one team got 15. Is that Everton or Southampton? I can't remember. Somebody's got Southampton. They've got 15. And every time Sky came on, the first thing they said was, well, no team that's had this many points at Christmas ever survives. And Merson was saying, well, they're down. And, and I think, well, why aren't they saying that about the other ones just now? Why is it just Newcastle, or is it because I'm so ingrained black and white that I can't see what they're saying, But it just hits me, that's all.
Yeah, I would agree. We had a question earlier on from Paul. I kept it. Here it is. Do you think we would be best to get a player like Neves, or would we be better to get an understudy who can learn the current squad's way? You don't want big players overshadowing what's going on, Kev. What's your thoughts on that? We are being linked with a hell of a lot of players, as we always are in this transfer window. But we're halfway through the month. No signings and no outgoings yet. But yeah, what's your thoughts? Neves, Trossard's another name that's been linked with us heavily. We've been linked with a whole host of foreign right backs, centre midfielders, wingers, forwards. Who would you like to see in the window if we are going to bring someone in?
Like I've said, I would number 6. again, just with Bruno's injury this past weekend, you just never know. Somebody in midfield, I would like to see another centre forward come in. I would like to see somebody similar but yet different to Wilson and Isaac, which can probably play back to goal, like we said, like Georgia said, back to goal player, traditional number 9, but who can play on the turn and get forward and has got a bit of pace, probably who's in with youth. But again, like we've always said on this platform, it's fitting within the dressing room and not upsetting the apple cart. If that's not the case and we can't bring anybody in, well, just go with what we've got, ride our luck with injury, with performance, and I trust Eddie Howe to manipulate the squad where he has to. But I would bring pretty much the spine of the side, right back, left back, central midfield in some capacity. Mainly probably a creative one, because I think we lack a bit of not saying we haven't got any creativity in the midfield, but I think we just need a bit more creativity from an attacking sense, like I said earlier, in the final third, to just unlock that door, if you will, to create opportunities to score goals, the final pass. But again, it depends on what shape he wants to play. Does he want to play the 4-3-3? Does he want to play the 4-2-3-1? Again, we don't want to put a square peg in a round hole and upset the apple cart. So again, it's a difficult one. We've got the money, but we haven't got the money. But we've got to be clever. We've got to be clever who we play. Trossard's a one. I watched Tielemans against us in the last round of the cup, and I thought he was, in my opinion, laboured. I thought he was just sauntering around the park, that he didn't really care. And yes, he broke play up, but would you really go for him? I'll put one out there. I'll go for Alexis McAllister from Brighton.
Good shout, yeah. Good shout. Okay, George.
Kevin just stole me thunder, because that's who I was going to say. I thought his performance in the World Cup and his performances with Brighton now. Yeah. I mean, the other night against Liverpool, he was the star man. Against all the others on the pitch, he was outstanding and beat Liverpool on himself, in my opinion. But there are others. I mean, it's interesting as well. I'd watch Tielemans because I like Tielemans, but if that's Tielemans playing for Leicester in the hoof, I don't want that Tielemans playing for me.
Exactly.
We want people who are going to kick the top off the grass for Newcastle United, not be in the hoof because they're not getting a game. Don't want that. And Trossard is another good one. And we're always going to be hostage to fortune, in the sense that we seem to have good sense on what these players are like off the pitch and in the dressing room, because that is important. You see, I mean, people having lots to say about Joe Linton's episode last weekend. And I think I said to you, Steve, and others when I was on the Amigos the other night, is that the biggest problem for Joe Linton isn't the court, isn't the police, it's the dressing room. All those lads in that dressing room, Lascelles as club captain, Trippier, Dan Burn, probably Bruno, Matt Ritchie, they'll all be saying to me, "A daft bugger, what did you do that for?" And that's what will put Joe Linton right. Not what the courts do or the police do. So we've got to be mindful of the dressing room and trust in the system that they've been using has worked for us so far. And I'm still of the view that, similar to O'Neill, that if they see a deal for the right player, money won't be an issue. They'll just do it. And that's what it'll get out of this. But I'm cooled on Maddison a little bit, because looking at his history, he's got 5 bookings and they're all for diving. Every single one. Now, is that what we want? I'm not sure I do. I want somebody that's prepared to put their neck on the line for Newcastle United, and that's what we've got at the moment. and in my old-fashioned terms, kick the top off the grass at St James's for Newcastle United. So there'll be lots of names. We'll be sick of names by the time the window's closed, but I'm sure that they'll have somebody. But a Tillemans committed would be my choice. But I like Kev, watched him in for Leicester the other night. Now I wasn't impressed at his attitude.
Yeah, I would be the same. Conor Gallagher's another one we will link with in the summer. I would think potentially, that might resurface as well. He's not getting a game at Chelsea. They've obviously gone big in this window again. So from our perspective, could be potential there.
The other night for Chelsea was a different player to what he was the other day. Because as I said on Friday, the kid's running his legs off. He's trying too hard. Now the other night, because they were on top of the game, he could come on and play his game.
Yeah,
he was a different player. So yeah, I wouldn't object to seeing him as a young go-getter. Yeah,
I think he'd fit the remit. Barry, your thoughts? Neves was the original name chucked in there, but anybody else that tickles your fancy in this transfer window?
It's a harder. You sort of, as a Newcastle fan from previous seasons, you constantly dwell in the newspapers. You're looking at the internet sites. Steve, I've got that gossip site up and running all the time, and the names that troll through there on a daily basis is just ridiculous. There's 12 different names every day. And I think listening to you guys and obviously watching Eddie's press conferences, you just think, well, these guys don't know anything. They have no clue who we're looking to sign. They have no idea at the minute who Newcastle United are actually dealing with, unless somebody gets seen at the ground like they did with Adidas. That's where the story came from, that the reps were seen there. I agree with you on Tielemans. His attitude doesn't seem right, and Gallagher's going to cost you 60-70 million probably to get away from Chelsea. Yes, he's a young guy, but is it something we want to play out on one player? I don't. You just think, is it going to be another foreign player? But then, as somebody said in the chat, will they hit the ground running? That's probably what we need to replace Bruno if he is going to be injured. I don't know. I've lost the plot with who we seem to be looking at and who we're not. It's just, you want somebody creative, so then you hear all the Newcastle scouts are in Brazil looking at players who nobody's ever heard of, right? Yeah. Buy three of them, just stick them in the squad. Who knows? It'll take the rest of the teams a year to get used to them being in the squad anyway. One of them will be decent because they always are.
Yeah, Darren, any thoughts, Darren?
I like Conor Gallagher.
Yeah,
he's going to cost £67 million, but can you get him on loan with an option to buy him? That's another option. The loan market's always available, isn't it, to get players? And if he wants to come, I mean, it's a good call.
Well, especially with Chelsea's strapped for cash, Darren.
Yeah, because I don't know how financial fair play, but they spent £400 million. Unless I'm missing something.
Well, that's why they're doing 7 and 8 year contract, isn't it?
Yeah.
Spreading the money over the time.
Yeah, they say to get off the wage bill too. So
yeah.
I think it'll be a great shout. Me, Conor Gallagher, if he wants to come, because he's young, he's hungry, and on that Eddie Howe, I think he could probably go to the next level under the right coaching. Because Eddie Howe likes to get the best out of young players. I mean, he would listen to Eddie Howe. And I don't want that Tielemans, because I say Huffy Tielemans does anything to me. I don't want players like that. I want players who's happy, who works hard.
Yeah, I would agree. And Eddie Howe would as well. Buck Kaiser said, apart from some early injuries, you seem to be keeping our main squad fit. Do you think the 5-sub rule is helpless? I do. I generally do think that is the case. I haven't got time to ask the panel because I just want to finish tonight's show as we hit the hour mark with a question for George. Simple answer, really, George, to this one. Blue Rhythm Boy said, can I ask Georgie's opinions on shirt numbers? Should they always be red on black and white stripes, or do you like them to match the sponsor's colours, as with the blue and gold Northern Rock shirts? Shirt numbers, George.
Well, I've got to say I'm old-fashioned. I used to like the white patch with a big red number on my back, and always would. So, but I have to say that the ones that have blended in with the sponsors' colours have been good as well. But I'm traditional in black and white with a white patch with a big red number on was always my choice, and what I used to be proud to wear occasionally.
Fantastic. Great stuff. Hey, that hour's flown over. A big thanks to Darren, to Barry, to George, to Kevin, and to Keegan for joining us.
Hi, Keegan.
Our youngest person on the show so far, I think. But great show, lads, says Tim. Thanks very much.
Great show, lads. Great crack.
Cheers, lads.
It has.
Good
And,
one, guys.
All the best. See you next time.
Thanks to all the
Thanks,
moderators
lads. Thanks,
and everybody
lads.
in the chat as well. The moderators who do a fantastic job. And big shout to all of you. I'm back tomorrow night. I've pre-recorded a show with Ross Gregory. So the transfer show with Ross Gregory is tomorrow. And then I'm back live Wednesday morning with the transfer show with Ben Jacobs. Super Mac and myself will be back on Thursday. Again, a slightly earlier show, 11 o'clock in the morning. And then the Free Amigos on Friday will be a pre-record as I'm away on Friday. So that's your week's viewing. You've still got 7 shows a week. Look forward to seeing you guys again for the Fans Forum next week. Take care, guys.
Cheers,
Good night,
lads.
lads. Good night,
Bye,
lads.
George.